So we have "Take My Breath" by The Weeknd. His first single since his like fantastic album release of last year. So about like a year and a half or so since his album drop. Album of the year nominated in Audioface, just absolutely fantastic. So it's the end of the After Hours era and everything. It's a kind of a new era within the Weekend staple music and everything. I like the single. I think it's the production of it's pretty good. Some stuff with the lyrics or some stuff of other things I might have wanted to change a little bit different here or there, but it's definitely sounds different than After Hours for sure. Like you could tell like a pivot from kind of the eras or whatever into more introspective stuff within the Weekend. So decent track.
It's a
We'll see what happens.
I'd say it's an evolution rather than a revolution to the Weekend sound,
Oh, for
especially because
sure.
After Hours
Oh,
took
yeah.
on like a production wise like 70s, 80s electronic
Yes.
like disco again
And you
like
can still
electronic type of
hear
sound.
that influence for sure.
Yeah. But that being said, I did really like it. I think my comments when I was listening to it were Abel is continuing to push himself singing wise, and so that's very, very good.
Yes.
We'd like to hear that. Voice is very good in this. And B, like that was kind of I guess like a side comment to B is that he's really kind of going for this like almost Bruno Mars energy in the sense that he wants to be like super pop star. He wants to be like, and not in like the bad connotations of like Bruno Mars. He sort of just comes on the songs, copies things from old generations, and kind of just
Yeah,
like
he
flips
does.
into his own thing. But there's a certain thing I think that Bruno Mars has where he's like a male vocalist who can hit certain high notes in its stride very easily, who's sort of like pop transcendent, if you will, kind of trying to go for this like again in the best connotations here that I'm trying to portray here for the purposes of like pop music stardom, like Michael Jackson here. They're trying to go to
Well,
like that
that's I
kind of
mean that's the
spot.
Abel's always like that's always his like his idol and stuff and kind of who he always wanted to strive to like that level of stardom. And you can see that even with all of his album works and whatnot, and then especially After Hours, he's like propelled himself to be, that number one slash number two spot
Yeah.
really in the pop music category. But I think rightfully so, because I think we were both proven wrong in a good regard because we didn't like his stuff. I mean, he's always been my guilty pleasure, but I never thought any great things about his previous works until his last album release. And now everything since then, like anything he's been featured on or this or that, has been fantastic. So we will keep you up to date with if when he drops more stuff. I mean, obviously you have the singles rule, but we'll let you know and see if he has an album release in maybe the next year or so.
There's absolutely an album rollout coming to
Oh,
this.
for sure.
I think the Weekend is like pretty much set as much as far as press releases go, and yeah, I think again he's still. I'm not trying to put a negative connotation on this, but this is just a fact, just as an observation, observing music here. He's got a chip on his shoulder from the Grammy snub,
Oh,
and
100%.
we are not here to say that he needs to prove to anyone. In fact, quite the contrary, that he needs to prove to anyone that his album After Hours was good and that he's a really good artist to what he is. But he is still going to do it, and I think he really wants that that recognition, at least in that way, to say it, just for at least if no one else but himself.
I can understand that.
Totally.
But I'm glad that he has really evolved to be this fantastic pop artist, something that we really enjoy in the male pop atmosphere, which is kind of hard to find. So
Yeah.
it's good. Next one, we have a concert 6 months from now by Phineas, brother of Billie Eilish. It's a lead out to his debut full LP because he's only released EPs before. And it's a decent track. It starts off as acoustic for about the first minute and a half or so of the track, and then like evolves into this big atmospheric song and whatnot. And I think it's okay compared to like his other work that I've heard before, like some of his other stuff before. But it'll be different, obviously, within the context of an album and everything. But production of it is crisp and clean and clear. His voice sounds great on it, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with his full LP release. I mean, the work he's done with Billy's been fantastic, obviously. So I've always liked his work on music.
Yeah, when listening to this, I was not taken aback by how acoustic it was, but definitely just like noting it that I don't know if the entire album will sound like this. Obviously,
Exactly.
there's a significant chance that he wants to differentiate himself sound wise from Billie Eilish, and so like, of course, like as like someone who produces a lot of Billie Eilish's like tracks, especially as of late, there are instances and times where he wants to try to differentiate himself and not make it sound as like glitchy as poppy that like he goes for with Billie Eilish, which just tends to be like what you want to do and attempt for when you're making this kind of like record. But yeah, like you're saying, I want to hesitate and see what the rest of it sounds like, because I think that it will I think there might be a lot of different sounds here, because that's what we know from Phineas.
Exactly. And he's pulling the anti Jack Antonoff. So thank you, good sir.
We have listened to other like Phineas songs, I believe. Like there was like the Blood Harmony sort of like EP drop thing you were talking about that had a lot of different sounds and like a range that it was going for. So I have no reason to believe that like even if you like, I think it's not just going to be like an acoustic sounding record. At least that'd be my guess. No. Could be. He's a surprise person, but not my guess.
And then last one we have Resume by Jenevieve. Jenevieve with a J, because I always got to differentiate that. It's like Jeff. I always say Jeff with a J or Jeff with a G.
Which team are you on? Vote now on your phones.
Oh, God. Well, I'll put a Twitter poll on Audioface podcast or something, or the Twitter account. Anyways, decent track. I think it's like a solid, like, I almost want to do that. I guess it could be like that neo-pop-ish sound, but more into like a pop-friendly atmosphere, if that makes any sense. Yeah. Like I'm trying to think of a way to explain it, but that's kind of the best way I have to explain like the sound of it. Obviously, you have to listen to it. But I think it's a decent track. Nothing too much to say, but the voice is fantastic and the production of it's pretty good, but it's nothing wowing it, because there's a lot of this sound that we've been getting this year. So, but just everybody's trying to have their own spin on it and whatnot.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I generally liked like Genevieve's stuff, but it's like, yeah, nothing like stand out like, wow, this is amazing, but still like pretty good. I'm looking forward to seeing what sort of comes out of this. She's released a lot of singles in 2021, so maybe we'll get like a drop or an album of some kind. That would be pretty great, because I think I've also seen her on a couple of other like features as well that have also been pretty good. So that's like one of the ones to watch for me, let's say.
Yep. Cool. All right. And that's it for singles today. As always, we will do our announcements right now. We have the 2021 AF playlist on Spotify. Make sure you hop in there, because we update it weekly to all the stuff that we like for 2021. There's a shit ton of music in there. As my dad always says, there's no good music. I'm like, no, there is great music. You just have to find it. And that's why we made this damn podcast. So go into the playlist and you will get the new shit that your heart's desire and everything. So the playlist link is in podcast just video description always. So you can always tap in there and pop it up and follow it. We always have our shit ton of bonus episodes and stuff. So we have plenty of them. I don't know when we're going to do the next one. Find out sometime.
Yeah, I need to do a little bit more planning. The juggling behind Audioface 200's taken up a lot of like my Audioface bandwidth, but
200 is more important. And then I would like to do at least one or two maybe before the end of the year.
Yeah, we hit the beginning of the year pretty hard. I definitely think we'll do the end of the year. I will say that like usually there is like a unspoken summer lull that we're kind of in right now. There's still like a lot of great music coming out, and there will be a lot of great music coming out the rest of this month. But generally speaking, as far as like releases go, it really starts to pick up again in the fall, and these releases get scheduled a little bit. And then if the releases are scheduled and we know they're coming in advance, that allows us to plan and do a bonus episode. So I definitely say we can plan more in the fall.
Yeah. And always help us grow. Pause. But, help us grow as a podcast and as a community. So follow us at Audioface Pod on Twitter, Instagram. Hop in those comments on YouTube, because that shit makes me laugh every day.
Your engagement is our horny goat weed, essentially.
Deadass. Like, it really is, because that pops up on my phone. I'm just like, what's the tea? Even if it's something negative, it just makes me laugh. So it's just hilarious. I love it.
Yeah, it again, like, it's just the truest thing ever. Engagement is good on the internet. It helps things grow. So if you have a positive thing to say, if you have a negative thing to say, like, dislike, whatever, just engage with us at youtube.com/audiofacepod, twitter.com/audiofacepod, instagram.com/audiofacepod, and everything else at audioface.show.
It's beautiful. And Dan, take the wheel. Go.
Oh yes, Power Report. I recorded an episode last week and I wanted to do like a little bit of a better job of it. So this week I've got an episode of Power Report dropping, covering a lot of the same topics I was talking about. So yeah, Republicans getting smoked, Democrats getting smoked, former coworkers getting smoked. And I've got a special, I think this is great because I waited because I can anchor this with an interview with progressive activist Jordan Ewell, very popular on Twitter, really good at also just doing like the behind the scenes activist work of getting people mobilized into things, which is what I contrast with a lot of grifters and pundits out there currently who are leading people who should be in the right mind just very astray. So that's a really exciting Power Report. And yes, it's back. Oh, also I spill some tea on TDIF and some other things I'm doing and working on as well. So you definitely want to check out that episode. Thank you, Peter, for editing or doing the audio mixing. I do the editing, but Peter does the audio mixing for Power Report and Audioface and all the things on the Syndicate 23 network. Thank you, Peter.
Dun, dun, dun.
Peter working with Dead Music 666, Dead Music Productions, which can be found on Instagram at Dead Music 666. That was a healthy amount of plugs. Let's get into the news.